The command room on the ship called Crimson Talon was filled with worried voices. Commander Zekthar looked at the glowing map in front of him. He was tall and covered in black scales that shined in the light. The job seemed easy enough. They had to protect some cargo ships, fight anyone who got in the way, and get paid. But something was making his crew nervous. The problem was humans, not just any humans. Human Special Forces soldiers. The galaxy found out about Earth only 30 years ago. Humans appeared suddenly, like lost children walking into a meeting of wise elders. Their planet was labeled as a dangerous world, one of the worst kinds. Most alien races grew up on safe planets where the biggest danger was a plant-eating animal. Humans grew up fighting creatures that hunted in groups. They lived in places that were frozen solid or burning hot. And somehow they survived it all. At first, Zekthar did not believe the stories. Every race claimed to be strong and scary. But the reports he read told a different story. These humans were something else. His second officer was named Kral. He had 4 arms with sharp blades at the end of each one. Kral leaned forward and spoke in a shaking voice that Zekthar had never heard before. "Commander, we should not take this job. The humans have a special team called the Spectres. They are the best soldiers from all their military groups. The last group of fighters who met them, well, only 2 came back alive. They are still in the hospital for their minds." Zekthar's tail moved once, showing he was annoyed. "We have fought the bug armies. We survived the great battle at Helion Prime. We beat the best fighters the crime groups could send. These humans are just another race playing soldier." Kral pulled up a file on the screen. It showed a human male. He looked normal. Average height for his kind. No armor on his body. No claws or sharp teeth. The word said his name was Jack Morrison. He was a sergeant in Earth Special Forces Spectre Division. This one, Kral said quietly, held a position by himself against 40 bug warriors for 6 hours. His team needed time to finish their mission. He killed 37 of them. With just a knife, he ran out of bullets. Everyone in the room went quiet. The bug warriors were monsters. Each one could tear through steel walls with their natural weapons. Zekthar looked at the picture more carefully. "One human did this?" "That is the problem, Commander," Kral answered. "He is not special by their standards. He is average for a Spectre soldier. The really good ones, we do not have information on them. Nobody lives long enough to write reports." For the first time in his long career as a fighter, Zekthar felt unsure, but the job offered enough money to upgrade all his ships. He made his choice. "We take the job, but we get ready for a real fight. Full battle rules. Everyone stays alert. If these humans are as dangerous as everyone says, we will show them that the Crimson Talon Company did not build its name by running away from hard jobs." Kral nodded slowly. His 4 hands shook a little as he started giving orders to the crew. Deep inside, he wondered if any amount of preparation would be enough. What neither of them knew was that 6 human Spectres were already on their ship. They had sneaked on board during the last time the ship was at a space station. They had been watching and listening, waiting for the right moment to act. In the dark corners of the ship, the humans moved like shadows. They wore special suits that made them nearly invisible. They had been studying the ship's layout for 3 days. They knew where every crew member slept. They knew which doors were locked and which ones were not. They knew the schedule for the guards. One of them was a woman named Kate Rogers. She was crouched in a maintenance tunnel, watching the command room through a small crack. She whispered into her radio so quietly that even someone standing next to her would not hear. "Team leader, this is Rogers. They are taking the contract. They think they can handle us." The voice that came back was calm and cold. It belonged to Jack Morrison, the same man whose picture Kral had shown to the commander. "Copy that, Rogers. Let them think they are prepared. Phase 2 starts in 6 hours. Make sure everyone is in position." Kate smiled in the darkness. 6 hours. That was more than enough time. The aliens thought they were the hunters. They had no idea they were already the prey. Another human, a man named Danny Cruz, was hiding in the engine room. He was placing small devices on the power systems. These devices would not damage anything. They would just give the humans control when they needed it. Lights, doors, gravity, everything would be under human control at the push of a button. "Cruz here. Engine room is set. We can shut them down whenever we want." "Good work," Morrison replied. "Get to your next position." The third member of the team was named Sam Foster. He was in the weapons storage area making small changes to the alien guns. They would still work, but not as well as the aliens expected. A small delay here, a targeting error there. Nothing obvious. But in a fight, those little problems would add up fast. Back in the command room, Zekthar was looking at battle plans. Krall stood next to him, pointing at different parts of the glowing map. "We will approach from this angle," Krall explained. "Our shields will protect us from their first shots. Then we move in fast and hard." Zekthar nodded. "What about their special forces? If they are really on those cargo ships, how do we deal with them?" "We overwhelm them with numbers," Krall said. "Even the best soldier cannot fight 100 enemies at once. We send wave after wave. Eventually they will run out of ammunition, run out of energy, run out of options." It sounded like a good plan. It was the kind of plan that had worked for Zekthar many times before. But something in his gut told him this time was different. These humans were not like other enemies. They did not follow the normal rules of war. "Double the guard patrols," Zekthar ordered. "I want sensors checking every part of this ship. If anything seems wrong, I want to know immediately." Krall sent out the orders. Within minutes, more guards were walking the halls. Sensors were turned up to maximum. The crew was on high alert, but they were looking for enemies coming from outside. They never thought to look for enemies already inside. Morrison watched the increased patrols through his helmet display. He was pressed flat against the ceiling in a storage bay, using magnetic grips to stay in place. 2 guards walked directly under him, never looking up. Humans learned long ago that most species never checked above their heads. "They are getting nervous," Morrison whispered to his team. "Good, nervous enemies make mistakes. Stay hidden. Stay patient. We move when I give the word." The hunt had begun. The aliens thought they were preparing for battle. They had no idea the battle was already lost. They just did not know it yet. The Crimson Talon ships dropped out of fast space at the meeting point. It was a field of broken ships and space trash. This place used to be a mining colony before the war destroyed it. Their sensors found the cargo ships right away. 12 vessels filled with medical supplies and materials for the outer colonies. The officer watching the sensors was named Ven. She had 3 eyes that could watch many things at once. "The cargo ships are on time," she reported. "No enemy ships detected. Wait, I see something strange. One small ship. It appears to be a human patrol vessel. The name is Wolf 4. Zekthar sat forward in his command chair. "Just one ship?" "Yes, Commander. It is sending out a normal patrol signal. The crew list shows 4 humans. 4 humans. Zekthar's group had 12 warships with over 800 trained fighters. The numbers seemed very much in his favor. But the worried feeling in his stomach would not go away. "Open a communication line," he ordered. The screen turned on and showed a human female. She had sharp features and smart eyes. Her uniform showed she was part of Earth's defense forces. She looked relaxed and almost bored. "This is Captain Lisa Grant of the patrol vessel Wolf 4. You are entering protected space. Tell me why you are here." Zekthar smiled like a hunter. "Captain Grant, I am Commander Zekthar of the Crimson Talon Company. We have been hired to protect the cargo ships you are guarding. We do not need your help anymore. Move your ship away and nothing bad will happen to you or your crew." Lisa Grant's face did not change. She looked at something off to the side, then back at him. "Commander, I am going to give you one chance to change your mind. Turn your ships around and leave this area. You have 5 minutes." The command room filled with surprised voices and laughter. One human in a tiny ship was threatening an entire group of warships. Zekthar raised a clawed hand for quiet. "Captain, I respect your bravery, but you are being foolish. You are outnumbered 200 to 1. Be smart about this." Lisa's eyes became hard. "Commander, you are not outnumbered. You are surrounded. 4 minutes and 30 seconds left." The screen went dark. Krall's 4 hands moved across his control panel. "Commander, I am detecting energy readings all through the trash field. Multiple contacts. They were using the broken ships to hide." The battle map suddenly showed red markers everywhere. Not hundreds, not even dozens. 20 human Spectre soldiers in powered armor. Each one was placed perfectly throughout the field. They had turned the entire area into a trap, and the Crimson Talon ships had flown right into the middle of it. "How did we miss them?" Zekthar demanded. "They powered down to almost nothing, Commander. They have been floating dead in space, waiting. Some of them have been here for days. Days. Floating in empty space in the cold and darkness, waiting for the perfect trap. What kind of people could do that?" The screen turned back on. Lisa Grant's face appeared again. 3 minutes, Commander. Do not waste them." Zekthar's pride fought with his need to survive. 20 soldiers against his whole group. The numbers were still in his favor. "Captain Grant," he said slowly, "you have 20 soldiers. I have 800. Even if yours are as good as the stories say, this will end badly for you." Lisa's lips curved into something that was not quite a smile. "Commander, on Earth we have a saying. It is not about how big the dog is. It is about how much fight the dog has. But since you want numbers, let me give you some facts." She leaned closer to the screen. "Each of my Spectres trained for at least 10 years. They survived fights in places that would kill your crew in seconds. They fought and won against impossible odds because that is what we do. Right now, they each have 3 of your ships in their target sites. This is not a fair fight, Commander. This is a slaughter. Your slaughter." Zekthar looked at his battle map. She was right. Each Spectre was positioned to hit multiple ships at the same time. They had found every weak spot, every blind area. 2 minutes, Lisa said softly. For the first time in his career, Commander Zekthar understood real fear. Not fear of dying, which every soldier accepts, but fear of something worse, being completely beaten by an enemy you never saw coming. He looked at Krall, who gave a small nod. The choice was made. "All ships," Zekthar announced, his voice steady despite the bitter taste of defeat. "Prepare to leave. Everyone turn around." Lisa Grant nodded once. "Smart choice, Commander. Safe travels." As the Crimson Talon ships began to leave, Zekthar could not stop thinking about the image in his mind. 20 humans, floating in the darkness like patient hunters waiting for prey to walk into their trap. He had been so focused on the numbers that he forgot the most important rule of war. Numbers mean nothing when facing an enemy that refuses to lose. Back on the patrol ship Wolf 4, Lisa Grant watched the alien ships disappear into fast space. Her crew was celebrating, but she remained calm. This was just another day protecting the cargo ships. Her second officer, a young man named Paul Garcia, turned to her with a big smile. "Captain, that was amazing. You made them run without firing a single shot." Lisa shook her head. "It was not me, Paul. It was the Spectres out there in the field. They did the hard work, floating in space for days, staying perfectly still. Waiting. That takes a special kind of discipline. Do you think they will try again?" Paul asked. "No," Lisa said confidently. "That commander is smart. He knew when he was beaten. He will spread the word to other groups. Human special forces are not to be messed with. That is worth more than any battle victory." Out in the debris field, the Spectres began powering up their suits. One by one, they jetted back toward the cargo ships to continue their patrol. They did not celebrate. They did not boast. They just did their job. One of them, a woman named Rachel Price, spoke into her radio. "Captain Grant, this is Price, all Spectres accounted for. Returning to patrol positions." "Copy that, Price," Lisa replied. "Good work out there. All of you." Rachel smiled inside her helmet. Days of floating in the cold and dark, staying perfectly still, breathing slowly to conserve oxygen. Most people would go crazy, but Spectres were trained for exactly this kind of work. Patience was a weapon. Waiting was a strategy. She remembered her training instructor's words. The enemy sees time as something to fill with action. We see time as something to use. Let them get impatient. Let them make mistakes. We will be there waiting. Those words had proven true today. The alien ships had rushed in, confident in their numbers. They never stopped to think that the humans might have been there first, watching, planning, preparing. As Rachel took up her new position near one of the cargo ships, she thought about the aliens who had just left. They would tell others about today. They would warn their friends and enemies alike. Do not underestimate the humans. Do not think numbers will save you. Do not assume you know what they are capable of. The message would spread across the galaxy. Human special forces were not just soldiers. They were something different. Something that came from a world so dangerous that survival itself was an achievement. They were Deathworlders, and they brought their world's lessons with them to the stars. In the command room of the Crimson Talon flagship, Zekthar sat alone, staring at the empty space where the cargo ships had been. His crew was quiet. Nobody was making jokes or celebrating. They all understood what had just happened. They had been beaten without a single shot being fired. They had been outthought, outplanned, and completely outmatched, but they were alive, and that was because the humans had shown mercy. Zekthar knew that if the humans had wanted them dead, they would be dead. Simple as that. He made a decision right then. No more contracts against human interests. No more underestimating any enemy. And definitely no more assuming that numbers meant victory. The galaxy was changing, and those who did not adapt would not survive. The retreat should have been simple. The Crimson Talon ships jumped to a safe distance, gathered together, and began planning their next move. Zekthar stood in his command room, looking at the star maps while his crew worked around him. The job was lost, but his pride wanted some kind of payback. "Commander," Ven called out from her station, "I am detecting a problem on Deck 7. The air controls are acting strange." Zekthar barely looked up. "Send a repair team." "Already sent, sir." "They are not answering their radios," that got his attention. Zekthar's scales moved with worry. "Send security guards." Kral was already moving toward the door. "I will lead the team myself." 10 minutes later, Kral's voice came through the radio. Zekthar heard something he had never heard from a second officer before. "Panic. Commander, we found the repair team. They are alive but knocked out. And Commander, there is a message written on the wall in glowing paint." "What does it say?" A pause, then, "Hide and seek." "You are it." The command room filled with noise and confusion. Humans on the ship. Impossible. They had been watched since the encounter. No ships had come close. No boarding pods had been seen. "Lock down all decks," Zekthar ordered. "Full security search. I want every hallway, every storage room, every air shaft checked. Find them." Over the next 3 hours, the Crimson Talon flagship fell into chaos. Security teams found crew members knocked out in different parts of the ship. None were badly hurt, just taken down quickly and quietly. Equipment stopped working in many areas. Then the lights began to fail, section by section. Zekthar walked back and forth in his command room like a trapped animal. They had over 200 security guards on the ship. The humans, however many there were, should have been found by now. But they were like ghosts, hitting from shadows and disappearing before help could arrive. The main lights in the command room flickered. In that brief moment of darkness, Zekthar felt something cold press against the back of his neck. "Do not move," a voice whispered in perfect alien language. Human throats should not be able to make those sounds, but here it was. "Your guards will not reach you in time." The lights came back on. Zekthar stood perfectly still. His security team had their weapons raised, but none dared to shoot with their commander in danger. "How many of you are on my ship?" Zekthar asked quietly. 6 of us. We came aboard during your last port stop. We have been here for 3 days, watching and waiting, learning your patterns, your weak points. You never had a chance." 6 humans had sneaked onto his flagship, avoided hundreds of crew members, and now held his entire command at their mercy. "Why not just kill us?" Zekthar asked. The pressure on his neck eased a little. "Because we are not monsters, Commander. We are soldiers. You made a mistake. But you also made the smart choice to leave when you understood the situation. That shows wisdom. We respect that." A figure appeared in front of him as special camouflage turned off. A human male, average height, wearing advanced armor that seemed to drink in the light. His face was painted with dark patterns, and his eyes held a cold, calculating intelligence. The name on his armor read Morrison, Jack Morrison, the same man from the reports, the one who had killed 37 bug warriors with just a knife. "Consider this a lesson, Commander," Morrison said. "We could have damaged your life support. We could have vented air deck by deck. We could have killed every single member of your crew before you knew we were here. But we did not. Do you understand why?" Zekthar's throat was dry. "Why?" "Because we want you to spread the word. Human special forces are not your enemy unless you make them one. We protect our people, our allies, and our interests. But we are not conquerors. We are defenders. Remember that." Morrison stepped back, and his camouflage began to activate again. "The cargo ships you were hired to attack are carrying medical supplies to a colony fighting a disease. 3,000 children will die without those supplies. Is your contract worth 3,000 children's lives?" Zekthar felt shame burn through him. He had known what the cargo ships carried, but had not cared about the contents. "Just the money. We will be leaving now," Morrison said as he faded from view. "You will not see us go. And Commander, next time someone warns you about human special forces, listen." The command room lights flickered again. When they came back, the humans were gone. Security teams rushed forward, but Zekthar raised a hand to stop them. "Stand down. Let them go." Kral came closer, his 4 hands shaking slightly. "Commander, what are your orders?" Zekthar looked at his second officer, then at the battle map showing the distant cargo ships. "Contact the client. Tell them we are ending the contract. No refund needed. We made a mistake." As his crew worked to fix things, Zekthar understood something basic about humanity. They were not just physically dangerous. They were smart fighters, morally complex, and completely terrifying when you became their enemy. The galaxy's Deathworld species had reached the stars, and nothing would ever be the same. In the shadows of the ship, Morrison and his team made their way to a hidden airlock. They moved silently through the corridors, their suits making them nearly invisible. Kate Rogers smiled as she followed her team leader. "Think they learned their lesson, boss?" she whispered. Morrison nodded. "Yeah, that commander is smart. He will spread the word. Make our job easier in the long run. Fear is a tool, Kate. Used right, it prevents wars instead of starting them." Danny Cruz was already at the airlock preparing their exit. All charges set to self-destruct. No evidence we were here except the message and their memories. "Good," Morrison said. "Sam, you got everything?" Sam Foster checked his equipment. "All recording devices collected. Their security systems will be back to normal in an hour. They will never know how we did half of what we did." The 6 Spectres gathered at the airlock. In the cold vacuum of space, a small stealth ship waited for them, invisible to the alien sensors. They would jet across the empty space, board their ship, and disappear. The aliens would search for hours and find nothing. "Remember your training," Morrison said to his team. "We are not here to kill. We are here to teach. Dead enemies learn nothing. Living enemies spread lessons." They opened the airlock and jumped into space. Their suits protected them from the cold and provided air. Small jets on their backs pushed them toward their ship. Within minutes they were aboard, and the stealth ship was moving away at slow speed, still invisible to sensors. Only when they were far enough away did they accelerate to full speed and jump into fast space, leaving the Crimson Talon fleet behind. Kate sat back in her seat and pulled off her helmet. 3 days of hiding in air ducts and storage closets. I need a real shower and a real meal." Morrison smiled. "You did good work, all of you. Mission success without casualties on either side. That is what we aim for." Their pilot, a quiet woman named Lynn Harper, spoke from the cockpit. "Command is signaling. They want a full report." "Tell them mission accomplished," Morrison said. "Target neutralized through psychological operations. 0 casualties. Contract terminated by target's own choice. Recommend continued monitoring but expect no further problems from this group." As their ship raced through fast space toward home, the team relaxed. Another job done. Another enemy turned into a potential friend. It was not the glory of battle, but it was the victory of intelligence over violence, and that was worth more than any fight. 6 months after the incident with the Crimson Talon Company, Zekthar found himself doing something he never imagined. He was attending a class about human war tactics at the Galactic Fighter Guild headquarters on Station Unity 7. The room was packed with commanders from dozens of fighter companies, all there for the same reason. Word had spread about humanity's special forces, and those who valued living over pride wanted to understand their new reality. The teacher was a retired human military officer named Colonel Henry Shaw. He was in his 60s by human counting, with gray hair and worn features that spoke of decades of fighting. Despite his age, he moved with the easy confidence of someone who knew exactly how dangerous he was. "Gentlemen, ladies and honored beings of all kinds," Shaw began, his voice carrying easily through the large hall. "I am here to tell you why your normal tactics do not work against human special forces. More importantly, I am here to tell you how to avoid ever having to fight them in the first place." A glowing screen activated behind him, showing a green and blue planet. Earth. This is a dangerous world. For those not familiar with the system, let me explain. The gravity is 30% higher than the galactic standard. The air contains highly reactive oxygen that eats away at most materials. The weather makes storms with enough energy to destroy cities. The native predators evolved alongside humans for millions of years, creating a race that never stopped. Pictures flashed across the screen. Large hunting cats with teeth like daggers, bears that could tear through trees, sharks that patrolled the oceans with deadly efficiency, tiny insects carrying diseases that had killed billions before humanity learned to fight back. Humans evolved as hunters who never gave up. Shaw continued. We cannot outrun most prey. We cannot overpower them directly. So we developed something else. Endurance. A human can track an animal for days until it falls down from exhaustion. We do not give up. Ever. A bug commander raised one of his bladed arms. Colonel, we know about human persistence. But persistence alone does not explain how your special forces work with such deadly effectiveness. Shaw smiled grimly. You are right. Let me explain the training process. Human Special Forces candidates go through selection courses that have failure rates between 70 and 90%. Those who survive spend years learning skills that would be considered impossible by most galactic standards. The screen showed video of human soldiers training, swimming through freezing water, climbing obstacle courses that looked designed to cause injury, carrying huge weights across impossible distances. They learn to work in any place, underwater, underground in zero gravity in extreme heat and cold. They master many forms of fighting, armed, unarmed, at distance, up close. But most importantly, they learn to think like their enemies, to predict, to adapt, to make things up as they go. Shaw pulled up a battle map showing a recent fight between human forces and a pirate group. This operation happened 3 months ago. A human Spectre team of 8 people neutralized a pirate base with over 300 defenders. 0 human deaths, 287 pirates captured alive, 17 killed because they refused to surrender. Whispers filled the audience. 8 against 300, and the 8 won without losing anyone. How? Zekthar asked from his seat. Shaw looked directly at him. Because they spent 2 weeks studying the base before they attacked. They knew every guard schedule, every structural weakness, every escape route. They damaged the base's systems from the outside. When they finally moved, it was not an attack. It was a planned operation where every action had been timed to the second. That is not warfare, someone called out. That is obsession. Exactly, Shaw agreed. Human Special Forces are obsessed with mission success. They will suffer, they will sacrifice, they will do whatever it takes. Because on Earth, we learned a long time ago that the alternative to victory is death, and we are very, very good at refusing to die. He pulled up a list of Human Special Forces units: Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Marine Force Recon, Air Force Pararescue, and dozens of others, each with their own skills and legendary reputations. But here is what you really need to understand, Shaw said, his voice growing serious. These soldiers are not mindless killing machines. They are educated, moral people who volunteer for these positions because they believe in protecting others. Give them a reason to work with you instead of against you, and they are the best allies you could ever ask for. Make them your enemy and you are already dead. You just do not know it yet. The class continued for another 2 hours, covering tactics, abilities, and most importantly, how to avoid conflicts with human forces. When it ended, Zekthar approached Shaw. Colonel, you mentioned a Jack Morrison during your examples. I have met him. Shaw's eyes sharpened. Jack Morrison. Good soldier. One of the best. I trained him myself. What happened? Zekthar told him the story of the cargo ships, the sneaking aboard, and the lesson his crew learned about Deathworld hunters. Shaw listened without stopping him. When Zekthar finished, Shaw nodded slowly. You are alive because Jack wanted you alive. That is the thing about our special forces, Commander. They are not cruel. They are precise. They complete their mission with the least necessary force. But if you mistake mercy for weakness, if you push them too far, you will discover that necessary force can grow very, very quickly. I understand that now, Zekthar replied. But I need to ask, why share this information with possible enemies? Does it not give away your advantages? Shaw smiled. Commander, our advantages do not come from secrets. They come from training, dedication, and evolution. We are sharing this information because we would rather have informed opponents who know when to back down than ignorant enemies who force us to show our abilities the hard way. Dead enemies teach no lessons. As Zekthar left the class, he carried with him a deep understanding. Humanity had not just survived their death world. They had been shaped by it into something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that combined compassion with deadliness, intelligence with instinct, mercy with the ability to deliver overwhelming violence. The smart ones would learn to work with them. The proud ones would learn to fear them, and the foolish ones would simply disappear, teaching their final lesson to whoever came after. Later that evening, Zekthar sat in his quarters on Station Unity 7. He was looking at reports about his company's future. The decision he had made after meeting Morrison was proving to be the right one. By refusing contracts that went against human interests, his company had actually gained respect in certain circles. Clients who valued honor over ruthlessness were now seeking them out. Krall entered the room and sat down across from him. Commander, I have been thinking about the class today. And? Zekthar asked. We have been doing this job for 20 years. We have always believed that strength came from weapons and numbers. But the humans showed us something different. Real strength comes from preparation, intelligence, and knowing when to fight and when to walk away. Zekthar nodded. I have been thinking the same thing. We need to change how we train, how we think. The galaxy is not what it was 30 years ago. Humans have changed everything. Should we reach out to them? Krell asked. See if they would train some of our people? Maybe, Zekthar said thoughtfully. But first we need to prove ourselves. Show them we are serious about changing. Actions speak louder than words, especially to humans. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, both thinking about the future. The Crimson Talon Company had been humbled, but not destroyed. Sometimes the greatest victories came from admitting defeat and learning from it. Outside the window, the stars shined bright. Somewhere out there, human specters were watching, protecting, waiting, and now at least some of the galaxy's fighters knew enough to respect them instead of fear them, or perhaps to fear them just enough to never become their enemy. 1 year after his encounter with the human specters, Zekthar stood on the bridge of his rebuilt flagship, now called the Redemption. The Crimson Talon Company had changed from fighters willing to take any job to a real security force that protected aid convoys. The change had cost them some clients but earned them others who valued honor over cruelty. The emergency call came through on a priority channel. A colony on the edge of known space was being attacked by a bug warrior splinter group, 15 warships strong. The colony's defenses were weak, designed to stop pirates, not a real military attack. 3,000 colonists, mostly civilians, had maybe 6 hours before the bugs broke through their shields. Commander, Krall reported, his 4 hands moving across his control panel. Our ships are the closest help, but we are outnumbered 3 to 1. By bug warriors, no less. The bug warriors, nightmare creatures that had nearly destroyed half the galaxy before they were stopped. 15 warships meant at least 3,000 bug soldiers. Zekthar studied the battle map. His 5 ships against their 15. Impossible odds. But 3,000 innocent people would die if no one helped. Send a priority message to Earth Defense Forces. Any available units, he ordered. Then set course for the colony. Maximum speed. The bridge crew looked at him with a mixture of respect and fear. They all knew what he was ordering. A suicide mission. Sir, Ven said quietly. Even if Earth responds, they are days away. I know, but we bought that convoy 6 months to reach safety. Maybe we can buy these colonists 6 hours. Enough time for help to arrive. The Redemption and its sister ships jumped to fast space. 4 hours later, they dropped into the colony system and immediately came under fire from the bug fleet. The battle was brutal and one-sided. Zekthar's ships fought with everything they had, using every trick they had learned over decades of fighting, but the bugs were relentless. Hull damage on Deck 3, Krall reported. Shields at 40%. Commander, we cannot hold much longer. Zekthar watched as one of his ships, the Valor, took a direct hit to its engine and began to drift. The crew was leaving the ship, but they had lost a third of their fleet in the opening minutes. Then the battle map lit up with new contacts. Multiple human signals dropping out of fast space at impossible speeds. This is Captain Lisa Grant of the UDFS Warhawk to Crimson Talon Fleet. Sorry we are late to the party. We brought friends. 3 human warships appeared from fast space along with 24 Spectre combat dropships. Help had arrived, and they brought the full weight of Earth's military might with them. What happened next would be studied in military schools across the galaxy for decades. The human ships did not fight a normal battle. They worked together with perfect precision, each ship targeting specific bug ships while the Spectre dropships went directly to the colony surface to help the defenses. Zekthar watched in wonder as the tide of battle turned. The human warships used weapons he had never seen before. Energy beams that cut through bug armor like it was paper. Their shields adapted to incoming fire in real time. But most impressive was their teamwork. Every ship, every soldier, every action was part of a larger plan executed with mechanical perfection. On the ground, the Spectres met the bug landing forces head-on. Where other species would have been torn apart, the humans fought with a ferocity that matched their opponents. Powered armor absorbed blows that should have been fatal. Weapons designed specifically for bug bodies tore through their natural defenses. And then Zekthar saw him. Jack Morrison, now Captain Morrison, leading a squad of Spectres against a bug assault force. Morrison moved like liquid death, his armor-enhanced strength allowing him to trade blows with creatures twice his size. His squad fought as one, covering each other with practiced skill. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, 13 bug ships were destroyed or disabled. The remaining 2 had run away. The colony was safe. Human losses were 17 wounded, 0 dead. Bug losses were estimated over 2,000 killed, 500 captured. Zekthar stood in the colony's command center next to Captain Grant and Captain Morrison. The colonists were celebrating their survival, but the 3 commanders understood the true lesson of the day. "Commander Zekthar," Grant said, "you held position against impossible odds to protect civilians. That takes courage." "Thank you," Morrison nodded. "We got your emergency call. When we saw the Crimson Talon signal, we pushed our engines past safety limits to get here in time." "You have changed, Commander." "Respect." Zekthar felt something he had not experienced in years. Pride not in victory, but in doing the right thing. "I learned from the best, Captain. Your species taught me that strength is not just about winning fights. It is about knowing which fights are worth fighting." Grant smiled. "We have been watching your companies change. Earth Defense Forces would like to offer a formal alliance. We need security contractors who understand what we are trying to build out here. A galaxy where strength is used to protect, not exploit. Interested?" Zekthar looked at Kral, who gave a slight nod. The same gesture they had exchanged 2 years ago, but with an entirely different meaning. "Captain Grant, Captain Morrison, the Crimson Talon Company would be honored to work alongside humanity. We have a lot to learn from you." Morrison extended his hand, a human gesture that Zekthar had learned meant friendship and trust. The alien commander grasped it carefully, mindful of his claws. "Welcome to the Alliance, Commander," Morrison said. "Just remember we are better as friends than enemies." "I learned that lesson the hard way, Captain. I do not plan to forget it." As the 3 commanders stood together watching the colony begin repairs under the protection of their combined forces, Zekthar thought about his journey. He had come to fear humanity's special forces, learned to respect their abilities, and now stood beside them as allies. The galaxy was a dangerous place, full of threats that would challenge even the strongest species. But with humans as allies, those threats seemed a little less impossible, not because humans could not be beaten, but because they refused to accept defeat. They adapted, they kept going, and they inspired others to be better than they thought possible. The Deathworld species had joined the galactic community. While many feared them, those who took the time to understand humanity discovered something remarkable. They were not conquerors seeking to dominate. They were defenders, willing to stand between innocent people and those who would do harm, and that made them the most dangerous allies and the most terrifying enemies the galaxy had ever known. 3 weeks later, Zekthar received an invitation. The Earth Defense Forces wanted to send a training team to work with the Crimson Talon Company. Not to turn them into human soldiers, but to share tactics, strategies, and ways of thinking. Kral stood next to him as they read the message. "This is really happening, Commander. We are going to train with humans." "Yes," Zekthar replied, "and we are going to learn everything they are willing to teach us. Not to become like them, but to become better versions of ourselves." "Do you think other companies will follow our example?" Kral asked. "Some will," Zekthar said. "The smart ones, the ones who value survival and growth over pride and old ways. The others will learn eventually. Or they will disappear when they pick the wrong fight." They stood in comfortable silence, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was changing. Humanity had arrived, and their presence was like dropping a stone into still water. The ripples were spreading outward, touching everything, changing everything. Some species would resist the change. Some would embrace it. But none would remain unaffected. The Deathworlders had brought their lessons to the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same. For Zekthar and the Crimson Talon Company, the future looked bright. They had found purpose beyond profit. They had found allies worth fighting beside. And they had learned the most important lesson of all. True strength came not from weapons or numbers, but from knowing when to fight, when to retreat, and when to stand alongside others who shared your values. The humans had taught them well, and now they would help teach others. 2 years had passed since the alliance formed between the Crimson Talon Company and Earth Defense Forces. The galaxy had changed in that time. More and more fighter groups were learning to respect human special forces instead of challenging them, but there were still those who refused to believe the stories. Those who thought their own strength made them invincible. The Ironclaw Syndicate was one such group. They were a massive criminal organization with hundreds of ships and thousands of soldiers. They controlled illegal trade routes across 3 sectors. When human patrols started interfering with their business, they decided to teach the Deathworlders a lesson. They attacked a human research station on the edge of explored space. 20 scientists working on medical research. The station had minimal defenses. The Iron Claw sent 50 soldiers to capture it, planning to hold the scientists for ransom and send a message that humans were not untouchable. What they did not know was that the research station was being quietly protected by a joint human and Crimson Talon security team. When the attack began, the team was already in position. Zekthar watched from the command center of the Redemption as the Iron Claw ships approached the station. Next to him stood Captain Morrison, now a major in the Spectre forces. They had worked together many times over the past 2 years, and a real friendship had grown between them. They are not even trying to hide, Morrison observed. 50 soldiers in 5 assault ships. They think overwhelming force is enough. Should we warn them? Zekthar asked. Morrison shook his head. They attacked civilians, scientists who were trying to cure diseases. They made their choice. Now they deal with the consequences. The Iron Claw ships docked with the research station. Their soldiers poured into the corridors, weapons ready. They expected scared scientists. What they got was something very different. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Then the hunting began. A combined team of 10 Spectres and 10 Crimson Talon fighters had been training together for months. They knew each other's strengths and weaknesses. They communicated without words, and they had turned the research station into a perfect trap. The Iron Claw soldiers moved through the corridors in groups. They were experienced fighters, but they had never faced this kind of opposition. One moment the hallway was empty. The next, their point man was down, taken out by a silent strike from above. Before they could react, the attacker was gone. Kate Rogers had learned well from her time with the Spectres. She moved through the air shafts like a ghost, striking and vanishing. Next to her was a Crimson Talon fighter named Vex, who had proven to be a natural at stealth operations. Together, they took down enemy after enemy. In another section of the station, Danny Cruz and Sam Foster worked with 2 more Crimson Talon fighters. They had set up ambush points at key intersections. The Iron Claw soldiers walked into crossfire again and again. Stun weapons took them down without killing them. The goal was capture, not slaughter. The Iron Claw commander, a brutal warrior named Grax, realized something was very wrong. He had sent 50 soldiers into the station. Already 20 were not responding to radio calls. He ordered a retreat, but it was too late. Morrison and Zekthar led the final assault personally. They hit the Iron Claw ship still docked at the station. Boarding actions were usually messy and bloody, but this one was fast and efficient. The enemy crews surrendered when they realized they were fighting soldiers who could take them apart in seconds if they wanted to. In 30 minutes, it was over. All 50 Iron Claw soldiers captured, their 5 ships seized, 0 casualties on either side except for bruises and wounded pride. Grax found himself on his knees in the station's main bay, surrounded by humans and Crimson Talon fighters. Morrison stood in front of him, arms crossed. "You attacked civilians," Morrison said quietly. "Medical researchers. People trying to save lives. Do you understand what you have done?" Grax said nothing. His pride would not let him speak. Zekthar stepped forward. "I used to be like you, Grax. I thought strength came from weapons and numbers. I thought humans were just another species to push around. Then I learned the truth. Human special forces are not strong because of their weapons. They are strong because of their minds, their discipline, their refusal to give up." He gestured to the captured soldiers. "You brought 50 soldiers. We had 20. You lost. Not because we had better weapons. Because we had better training, better teamwork, better strategy, and because we were protecting something that mattered." Morrison nodded. "You will be turned over to the authorities. Your organization attacked civilians in protected space. That carries serious charges. But I want you to think about something while you are in prison. Every time someone attacks humans or our allies, we respond. Not with rage, not with revenge. With precision, with overwhelming skill, with the kind of force that ends conflicts quickly and decisively." He leaned closer. "Spread the word when you get out. Human special forces are not monsters. We are not evil. We are simply very, very good at our jobs. And our job is protecting innocent people. Remember that." As the prisoners were taken away, the joint security team gathered in the station's mess hall. Scientists who had been hiding during the attack came out to thank their protectors. There were hugs, tears of relief, and genuine gratitude. One scientist, a young human woman named Dr. Amy Parker, approached Morrison and Zekthar. "Thank you, all of you. We heard the fighting, but you kept us safe. Our research here could save millions of lives across the galaxy." Morrison smiled. "That is why we do this, Doctor. Your work matters. Our work is making sure you can do yours without fear." Zekthar watched the interaction and felt a warmth in his chest. This was so different from his old life as a mercenary. Back then he fought for money and reputation. Now he fought for something real, something meaningful. Later, as the Redemption prepared to leave the station, Kral approached Zekthar on the bridge. "Commander, I have been thinking about how far we have come." "And?" Zekthar asked. 2 years ago, we would have been the ones attacking that station if someone paid us enough. Now we are the ones protecting it. The humans changed us, Commander. They showed us a better way. Zekthar nodded slowly. They showed us that strength without purpose is just violence. That skill without honor is just cruelty. We are better now. Better soldiers. Better people. Morrison came onto the bridge, overhearing the conversation. "You know what the best part is, Commander? You are teaching others now. 3 more fighter companies have asked to join the Alliance in the last month. They want to learn what you learned. The change is spreading." "The galaxy is getting better," Zekthar said. "Slowly, one alliance at a time, one lesson at a time." "That is all we can ask for," Morrison replied. "Rome was not built in a day, as we say on Earth. Change takes time, but it is happening." As the ships jumped to fast space, leaving the research station safely behind them, Zekthar thought about the future. The Iron Claw Syndicate would spread the word about what happened. Other criminal groups would think twice before attacking human interests. And slowly, carefully, the galaxy was learning that the Deathworlders were not conquerors or monsters. They were teachers, allies, and protectors. The reputation of human special forces had grown even more fearsome. But it was a different kind of fear now. Not the fear of mindless violence, but the fear that came from facing an enemy that was smarter, faster, and more dedicated than you could ever be. The fear that came from knowing you were outmatched in every way that mattered. And for those who chose to be allies instead of enemies, there was no fear at all. Just respect, friendship, and the knowledge that you had the most capable warriors in the galaxy watching your back. Years from now, historians would look back at this time as the turning point. The moment when the galaxy learned that humanity brought more than just weapons to the stars. They brought their values, their determination, their refusal to let the innocent suffer when they had the power to help. The Deathworld had sent its children to the stars, and the stars were better for it. In a bar on Station Unity 7, alien fighters gathered to share stories. Tales of human special forces were told in hushed voices. Some were exaggerated, some were understated, but all carried the same core truth. The humans were different. They came from a world that tried to kill them every day, and they survived by becoming the best survivors the galaxy had ever seen. They brought that survival instinct to the stars, along with something else. Compassion, honor, a deep belief that strength should be used to protect, not to dominate. A young fighter asked an old veteran, "Should we fear them?" The veteran thought for a long moment. "Fear them if you plan to hurt the innocent. Fear them if you mistake mercy for weakness. Fear them if you think you can bully them into backing down." He took a drink and continued, "But if you want to do the right thing, if you want to protect instead of exploit, if you want to be better than you are, then do not fear them. Seek them out. Learn from them. Stand beside them." The young fighter nodded slowly, understanding. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Human special forces were not to be feared by the righteous, only by those who chose to be enemies of peace, justice, and the protection of innocent life. And that was exactly how it should be.